Hey all, Dead Metal PC here with some more Ghost Recon Wildlands gameplay. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what I mentioned in one of my previous videos. I have a lot to say about microtransactions. So today I just wanted to sort of give you an overview of microtransactions and prices in Ghost Recon Wildlands. And then compare that to another game which I think has a very fantastic model for microtransactions and downloadable content, and that is Warframe, done by Digital Extremes. So to start off, I want to give an overview of the price of Ghost Recon Wildlands, what you would be paying to have access to the game. So there's a few editions of the game. There's a standard edition, which is typically 59.99, so basically $60. Then you can move up to the deluxe edition of the game, which will cost you around $70. And that gives you a little bit more access to extra things. You might get some like experience boosters, some customization items, a few items in the game that would affect gameplay for the deluxe edition. And then you can step it all the way up to the gold edition, which is a whopping $100. So I just want to stop right there and say like that there's already this massive difference between Ghost Recon Wildlands and Warframe, which is the starting price, the basically the access price to the game itself. So you have Ghost Recon Wildlands, which is a retail game that will cost you anywhere between $60 and $100 just to play the game. Then you move over to Warframe, which costs you nothing to access the entire game and play the entire game all the way through and get access to all of the content. Costs you $0.
He's dead.
$0. You don't have to spend a cent. So that's the first comparison. And then I also just wanted to step through. So like for the Ghost Recon Wildlands Gold Edition, you're getting access to a season pass. Just basically more. It's like a heavier version of the deluxe version of the game. So next I want to step into some of the microtransactions or downloadable content that's available in both of the games. I want to start out with Ghost Recon Wildlands. So in Wildlands you have there's a whole slew of stuff. The price that you're going to pay for downloadable content or microtransaction content is going to range anywhere between $10 in Ghost Recon Wildlands all the way up to $50. So this is another point where I want to stop and sort of point out.
Moving to a good sight line.
You can purchase a microtransaction pack in Wildlands for $50. Just about the cost of the entire game. and that $50 is in no way going to add up to the same amount of content that you get with that original $60 price for the entire game. You're probably only going to get like a few maybe camouflages, weapon skins, some in-game items that might affect gameplay and whatnot. But that's really what strikes me as just insane. Like why are you or why would a developer think that that's a good practice for their player base, their community? Like if I'm going into a retail game, I'm expecting that I'm probably going to put in somewhere around $60, and that $60 is going to give me access to all of the content in the game. That I'm not going to have to spend more money to get access to additional content. And then I want to flip it over to Warframe, where I think they just have a fantastic way of implementing microtransactions and downloadable content. So Digital Extremes took the free-to-play approach with Warframe, And that means that players aren't paying anything to have access to the game. And what's really great about this is that their microtransaction model is really based around cosmetics in Warframe. So, like, I could technically play through the game without paying a cent, finish all the quests, get access to all of the Warframes without using real-world money. Now, obviously, there's going to be a time difference between a player who's paying money to have like instant access to content versus someone who's just playing entirely for free. But there's another thing that I wanted to point out about Warframe. So they have an in-game market, and their premium currency is called Platinum. And players, completely free-to-play players, can actually loot loot items in game that can be sold on this market for the premium currency, for Platinum. So all of a sudden, you have access to that additional content, which typically costs money if you don't want to spend the time to get it through normal means in the game. And I think that's so fantastic because you have this in-game player-driven economy, and that just gives all the free-to-play players so much more access and so much more. There's so much more availability to that extra content for those players. I think it's also a really great way for players to support the developers. So like if someone really likes Warframe and really likes the developers and thinks they're doing a great job, people can get access to the cosmetics and give themselves a little bit of flair while also supporting their favorite game and their favorite developer. And then we step back over into Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now I'm not trying to throw too much shade on Ghost Recon as a franchise. I'm not trying to throw hate at Ubisoft. I just really disagree with the way that they've implemented all of their DLC and microtransaction content into the game. So let's maybe get a little overview of some of the like additional content that you can actually go in and buy for Ghost Recon Wildlands. So there's you can purchase a Ghost War Pass for the multiplayer section of the game. That's going to cost you around $50, or excuse me, $15. I just want you all to keep in mind while I'm going through this, all of the prices of the additional content. Compare that to the base standard edition of the game, $60 that you're paying. And then we can move on to something like the Wildlands Season Pass, and that'll cost you $40. That's more than half of the price of the original game. And that's not delivering you an entirely new game. That's delivering you some additional content. And that proportionally, that doesn't add up. That's not right to me. Then you have things like the Ghost Recon credits. So like stuff that's like we've got like $35 or a pack for $35, another pack for $20. The cheapest pack for Ghost Recon credits you can get is $5. And then the most expensive pack for Ghost Recon credits is $50. And all of that stuff can get you in-game cosmetics or somewhat game-changing items like weapons and some vehicles. But that's not guaranteed. That's all through their like in-game loot boxes, the Ghost War crates and like the special ops crates in Wildlands, and all that stuff is really based on luck of the draw. So there's a really a huge disparity here between the way that the microtransactions and DLCs are implemented between these two games. And I just wanted to point out that there's sort of, we have Warframe, which I think is the best way to implement it. Give your player base options, try to make it or try to implement that kind of content in a way that is not going to alienate your player base and make them feel like they want to support you. Versus Wildlands, where a lot of this content is there, it's priced really high, and if you want to have access to it, you gotta pay the price, and it's not a fair price at all. Definitely not for the content that you get in their add-on packs and whatnot. I also wanted to point out that in the most recent update, Wildlands also added some packs for resources and skill points. And this is the part that really gets me, that really bothers me about the way that this is implemented. So in the update, they also gave us a new mode called Ghost Mode, and that's like it's a sort of like a hardcore extreme version of the main campaign. You do the same thing. You go in, you customize your character, you create them. There's a few rewards at the end. It's the exoskeleton that you get for completing the campaign, for getting to level 30, and getting all the way to tier 1, which is really difficult. It's a massive grind, tier mode. But the catch is that if you die, if your character that you create dies in ghost mode, all of that progress is gone. So like if you get through the campaign and you're in tier mode, say you're like at tier 20 or something, good for you for getting to tier 20 first of all, and you die, then you lose that progress in tier mode. That's gone. You lose all of your attachments, everything that you've unlocked, your skill points, your resources, gone. Permadeath. That's sort of like the hardcore extreme version, so you have to be very careful in ghost mode. But with ghost mode, like I said before, they implemented new content packs, quote unquote content packs, in the form of skill points, which is how you level up your character and you develop it. You make it, you give your character more versatility, more viability in the late game when you come up against harder opponents and the more difficult scenarios. And they also added in a pack for resources, which is also how you upgrade your character, as well as how you upgrade your weapon when you're in tier mode. And with the difficulty and the grind of tier mode, it just seems like ghost mode and these the resource and the skill packs seem to kind of go hand in hand together. So I kind of feel like, the developers are thinking, hey, we're implementing this new mode, players are going to love it, it's a challenge, blah blah blah. But we know that there's some players who don't want to have to grind through the game for hours on end again. So we'll implement these things so they can do that. And great, you can go ahead and do that. It's ultimately their decision, but I think it's a poor decision because it kind of forces this upon the players, like the regular players, who probably who don't necessarily have the monetary resources to be spending this kind of money on a game like this. And that's what really sucks about it. Like you're implementing these microtransactions and almost forcing it upon your players, who've already spent a ton of time and a ton of money in the game, getting to where they are, going through tier mode in the regular campaign, and then you're making them grind through the campaign again and grind through tier mode again, and then you're implementing these packs to entice them to buy it and spend more money, and that is just wrong to me. Like, if you're going to put in microtransactions in Wildlands, try to follow the model of Warframe and make it so that your players are spending that money because, one, they think it's a good value to them, and they support what is being done by the developers, instead of throwing out these content packs which have which cost almost the same as the main game but deliver less content.
The drone is up.
So I want to thank you all for swinging by and watching the video. This is just a little tiny baby channel, and I'd really love for it to grow into something where people can come together and share what they love about video games, discuss their favorite stuff, different aspects, stuff like that, start dialogues. So please leave me a comment, like, subscribe. Check out my other channel on Twitch. It's in the description below. There's links. There's links to Warframe. There's links to my social media. I'm also going to throw in a little link to Quasar Phil. He helped me get started on Twitch. And he's got a fantastic channel up and running. He plays some really cool games, some Fortnite, some other stuff too. So go check him out. And I want to thank you all again so much for swinging by and watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
We got a grunt all by his lonesome, near that turret. Dropped him. That was fucking close.
They got
Hold
no
up,
juice.
they're gonna see you.
I got a target carrying submachine guns.
Roger that. I got it. Moving to position. Copy. Eyes on the target. Roger. Target acquired. Ready to fire. We got some light panels here. He's gone.
This will go nice with my boots.